This critical EDH video is brought to you by Doot Loot, your one-stop shop for Japanese and Russian foils. If you spend $100 or more, you'll earn free entry into the largest online cEDH league this month. So don't miss out and upgrade your deck's bling today.
Hey everyone, I am making this video to talk about a situation I found myself in at Fishbowl 6. And I don't remember exactly what round this was, but I was in 4th seat. I think it was round 6 because I needed to win this game and I need to win round 7 as well to make top cut. But I was in 4th seat and just was not having a great mulligan, didn't have a great setup or anything like that. And was trying to find a way to get through, trying to find a way to push for a win. And I'll just go over like what the whole situation was like. The rest of the boards are really not too important, but yeah, this is, you can see Tim the Crom are in the command zone. Here's my library. I have 2 lands on the field. I have a graveyard that is somewhat full of cards that were me just trying to desperately get to where I needed to go. I've got a fetch land, a vamp tutor that I use for Remora. Played the Remora, played the City of Traders. Had to develop another color mana. Went this way. Ended up drawing Lotho later. Couldn't play it. Played a Gitaxian Probe and just had to discard this Flood Caller. But what I've been sitting on kind of all game, and what was in my opening hand, was Intuition and Dark Red. And I think LED as well. So I don't remember exactly like all of the cards, but what I'm trying to do is recreate the scenario for you to explain to you my thought process with playing this out and how this worked and kind of the challenges I faced playing around certain cards and stuff like that. So these were the big cards that I kept a hand for, and I'm like, okay, if I can develop into this Intuition, looking at this pod composition, I can probably get to a breach line. And so let's talk about the pod. The pod was, seat 1 was Corvold, and that's Kyle from That's a Good Card, friend of the channel. Really, really nice guy. And seat 2 was Naya Minsk, which was a stacks deck and creature combo deck. Seat 3 was Francisco Thrasios, and they were also on a pretty low mulligan. And then seat 4 is me. So we're already in a kind of strange pod. I'm not really expecting a whole lot of interaction from anyone, but the way that the pod evolves and starts out was that Naya Minsk in seat 2 really just starts pushing. And we have to use a lot of tools between the 3 of us to try and stop them. And we're successful in at least like delaying and like kind of slowing them down. But it's very clear that time is running out. And we have to either take care of them or one of us has to win in order to prevent them from winning. So let's start this scenario and we'll kind of just go over where we're at information wise and turn wise. Hopefully this is easy to follow. If you have questions about this in the comments, feel free to ask and I'll try to clarify it and stuff like that. So we're in 4th seat. It's not our turn. It is seat 1's turn right now, but let's just go over what we have here. We've got 2 lands, a handful of cards that don't really do a whole lot on their own, which is Born Upon a Wind, Plateau, SWAT, Snapback, LED, Dark Red, Intuition. We've got a graveyard full of cards that again don't do a whole lot, and if you look really hard, there's probably some sort of breach line you can put together with Vamp Tutor and Gitaxian Probe, but that's pretty fragile. Our commanders are in the command zone, unfortunately, so this SWAT doesn't do a whole lot. And then a piece of information that we know is that Kyle has a Boseiju. And Boseiju really screws with our plan with Breach, as you might know. He can channel Boseiju, just destroy Breach, and then we're kind of hosed, and we have no resources to recover. Even if we have Savin's Wreck, we don't have the white for it. At least, sure, we can get Plateau, and then we have to Savin's Breach, and then... But that is requiring us to have Savins. We don't have Savins right now. So We're passing turn with this board state. Again, this is my hand, so we'll just put this way. Kyle takes his turn, plays something that we don't really care about, passes turn to turn 2, which is Naya Minsk. They push for a win. We use our resources to stop them. So once we stop player 2, player 3 untaps. They have pretty low resources, low amount of cards in hand, and they just drop Thassa Decon. And unfortunately, because the player to my left is Jund and the player across from me is Naya, they don't really have a whole lot of resources to deal with this. So we are forced to interact, and we're totally fine to do that. Cast Dark Writ via this Badlands, and then cast Intuition. Our intuition pile is Sevin's, Breach, and Force of Will. They give us Force of Will and Breach and Sevin's go to Yard. We Force of Will, pitching the Snapback, and counter the win attempt. So now it's on us to figure out how do we win from this board state. I think that it's pretty hard given that we have pretty low resources, but we might have the right cards to make it work. And here's what we do. So we untap, draw for turn. Oh look, it's a Taru. That card does basically less than nothing right now. We'll play our land for turn, this Plateau. Play this LED. Let's talk about how not to do it. So we need to flashback this Sevin's. And there's a couple of different ways we can do that, but most of it involves cracking LED, and that's fine. We can do that. So we crack LED. We'll do it for 3 white. Discard our hand. Here goes Swat, Taru, and Born. So that's 3 white. We pay Plateau and Badlands. That's 5. Pay 5, and we'll flashback Sevin's, targeting Breach. So the way that Sevin's works from Graveyard, when you flash it back, is that you have a initial target, and that resolves, and then you copy Sevin's, and then that target resolves. So our initial target would be Breach. This one comes back. And then we have our secondary target being LED. The problem with this is that in between this Breach and this LED, our opponents have priority. And what they can do with that priority is Boseiju our Breach. If that happens, we lose Breach. Breach goes to Yard. We get a land. Oh, look, it is a land. Cool, we have a land. Boseiju's resolved. And then our LED comes back. Sevin's gets exiled. And we have no cards in hand. We have nothing to do because our Breach is gone. We need to do it in the reverse order. So we'll put Tundra back to where it was. LED back to where it was. Sevin's is here. There's our 3 white. What we'll do is pay for Sevin's. We'll target the LED first. Now, our opponents can try to Boseiju here. They can Boseiju our LED or one of our lands. Unfortunately, one of our lands, for them, doesn't do anything. We just get another land. We can respond, crack. And same with LED. We can respond and crack. And that's really not what they want, right? Because they need to use this on our Breach. LED comes back. Breach comes back. And now our opponents don't have priority. we crack LED for 3 red. And what this 3 red does, I'm sorry, Savins goes to exile. What this 3 red does for us is allows us to keep up deflecting SWAT. Because we can't use the alternate casting cost of casting it for free from Breach, because this is already an alternate casting cost. You can only select one. So even if we had our commanders, we still couldn't cast this from Yard for free. We'd need this 3 red. So what we need to do now with our Breach line is keep up this 3 red. So we've cracked LED for 3 red. Now we have SWAT available to us. So at any point they try to Boseiju us to stop us from Breach, we can just respond with SWAT, which is great. So we've got 3 red. And LED is back in Yard. So let's keep up that 3 red. We'll cast LED. We can exile some lands. So here's City of Traders, Polluted Delta, Arid Mesa. And to get the rest of the pieces we need, we're going to crack LED for 3 blue. Recast Intuition. We can exile Sataru Taru, Dark Ritual, and Valley Flood Color. None of these cards really matter. What matters are LED and SWAT. One thing we have to be careful of, we need to have enough cards in Yard to SWAT and to potentially LED again. Let's put our useful cards aside. And we have 6 cards in Yard right now. Besides those 3. So we can, with this pile, let's grab Brain Freeze, Lotus Petal, and shoot, let's grab Spirit Guide. It doesn't really matter. But what I'm trying to illustrate here is that these are all useful to us. So it doesn't matter what our opponents choose at this point. One of these is going to go to our hand. Obviously, we've paid our 3 blue for that Intuition. We still have our 3 red floating. Let's put our SWAT underneath that. It doesn't really matter what our opponents choose for us. If we get Petal, these 2 go to the Yard. That's fine. If we get this, these 2 go to Yard. That's also fine. Let's say they give us Spirit Guide. This is the worst one. What we need to do is cast this again. So we'll exile Probe, Lotho, Remora, and we'll crack LED for 3 blue. So here's our 3 red and 3 blue. And that means we have to discard the Spirit Guide. At this point, we're running really tight on cards, which means we need to cast our freeze. Spinning 1, 2, 3. So notice that nothing here has really been of any importance, and we have to keep up at least 3 cards here for SWAT that are not LED. So let's just kind of pre-exile these here with that SWAT, and then LED is the last thing in our Yard. And freeze is going to give us more than enough cards to, let's just use 2 blue for freeze. Now we have overcome our struggles of not having enough cards in Yard, and then we are able to go through our deck. Milling 1, 2, 3. We cast LED 3 times. 1, 2, 3, plus original Brain Freeze, plus Savins. And at minimum, we're going this many cards. Tutor, Silence, Cabal Red, Wheel of Fortune, Reign of Filth, Pact. Pact is excellent here. And here's Demonic Tutor. So now we would just LED and freeze a couple more times. We can Demonic Tutor for Thassa's Oracle, or it will just be in our graveyard, and we can do it that way. Alternatively, we can just Brain Freeze and LED our opponents, and mill them all out, and then use Fairy Mastermind to activate once, and then they draw a card and die. That's typically the safer method, but this is not really a video about Breach itself. This is more about playing with low resources and trying to maintain protection for yourself, especially if you have found out some information at the table, like there's a Boseiju, and we have to be able to play around that and have the resources to do so. Be aware of how your cards work, like how SWAT works. This card's probably not coming out of this deck, despite how often I don't cast my commanders, just for this reason, because it's 3 mana. LED is 3 mana. Same with Fierce, right? So it's possible to hold up these counter spells from yard while we're going through our breach line, given that we have enough cards in our yard to do so. If you made it this far in the video, first of all, thank you. I hope you enjoyed these videos. I hope you enjoy me going over some cards and things like that. I was able to present a win from 4th seat with very, very low resources in this game, and that was really awesome. And the players in that game were really fun to play with. It was a pretty high pressure situation. I think all of us kind of needed the win to move on. So it was, like it felt good. It felt really good to win and play tight and clean and correctly, I guess. Now, what's really funny is I went through the brain freeze line where I said, okay, I'm going to brain freeze all of you, and then mastermind and force you to draw a card. And they said okay. And so Kyle said, you know what, let me make sure that this works, make sure you have enough cards and stuff like that, so hit me with that brain freeze. Let's see what happens. And I said okay. So I hit him with the brain freeze, we start resolving it, and sure enough, what does he flip over? He flips over a Boseiju into his graveyard. And I go, you motherfucker. Like, the reason that I thought I knew that he had a Boseiju. I thought that I knew that he had a Boseiju. I was like 99% sure, because I think there was a rule of law or a deafening silence that we were kind of like worried about, or an artifact combo or something. There was something that he's like, oh, I have this to deal with it. All game, he was acting like he had a Boseiju in his hand. So sometimes it's just safe enough to play around it. If you have the resources to do so, play around like your opponents have Boseiju, especially because if you have an Abolisher, what is the one card that can blow you out? What's the one card that can stop you? It's Boseiju or Otawara. So if you have an Abolisher, your opponents can't do anything, but they can touch the Spirit Realm, they can Boseiju, and they can Otawara. So be very, very careful of that. I think I made a correct choice regardless of whether my opponent actually had this card or not. But at the time, it was funny. It was just like I should have known. Like, show me the Boseiju, and he's like, no. I didn't even ask, but I was like, I could have asked, I could have said something, but I think it worked out in my favor. So play like your opponents have interaction, play smart, play clean. I guess there's really not much else to say. If I made any mistakes, please correct me in the video. This was really hard to set up from memory. I went through a couple iterations of this and did my best, but from what I remember, this is pretty close to what I had experienced, and I'm sure Kyle will chime in and say, no, here's where you're wrong. But again, play clean, learn your lines, practice this stuff. It'll help you. It'll get you there in tournaments, especially in those high pressure situations. You won't have to think twice about it. You'll resolve your Savins correctly. You'll do Savins targeting LED first and then Breach second. And it'll win you the game. So if you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe for more of this content. Otherwise, check out our Keeping Tabs video coming out this week and next week and the week after and all the weeks after that. Until then, we'll see you later. Bye.